you know, you imagine what mining was like 300 or 400 years ago, or the early days of coal mining. You know, it's that bad and worse because we're supposed to be living in this enlightened era. So the scale of it shocked me. The severity shocked me. To see kids up to their shoulders caked in this filth and grime and toxic. I mean, to see teenagers walking around with babies on their back, all inhaling this toxic cobalt dust. To see them barely scraping by on $1 a day, $2 a day. And then as I interviewed these workers, I use the term worker. They're not workers at all. They're oppressed, degraded slaves. As I interviewed them, the level of injury, broken legs, shattered spines, toxic contamination, cancers, birth defects, what's happening to the people there. And then the most heart-wrenching thing of all, there's probably 10 to 15,000 tunnels. I think I even sent you guys 1 or 2 videos of what these tunnels look like. The artisanal miners will dig tunnels 30, 40 meters down to get to some of the higher grade deposits. And they don't have supports, rock bolts, ventilation shafts, anything like that. And those tunnels collapse. Every week in the Congo, a tunnel collapses. And everyone who's down there, 30, 40, 50 men and boys meaning kids, are buried alive. And when I started hearing those stories, and I heard them on my first trip, it just ripped me apart because I thought, this is the bottom of trillion-dollar supply chains? When I plug in my smartphone, I don't have an electric car, but if I did, when I plug that in, I'm plugging in that level of suffering and death. I mean, I can't imagine a more horrid way of dying than being buried alive. And they're down there trying to get that $1 or $2 because that's the difference between eating and surviving and not. And that's what I wasn't anticipating, just the level of severity. And if your listeners are familiar with, you know, what it was like in colonial Africa and in the Congo during the Belgian times, I mean, I thought I was back in King Leopold's regime, where there's just utter disregard for the humanity of the people in the Congo. All that matters is the loot. All that matters is the loot, the resource. Get it out, make money, and to hell with the population, to hell with the people there. They're either a efficient slave labor force or they're just in the way. But there's loot in the dirt, and we need that loot. And that's the dynamic down there.
This must have been so difficult for you to grasp and to report on, and just to, like, what was it like for you to just experience this?
Joe, it's, you know, I haven't actually, this is the first time I'm talking about it, like, in any sort of extended way. I mean, I wrote my book. Much of the pandemic was me writing, and that was hard, you know, because there's a lot I had to relive. I take the reader on a journey. You know, in college we all read Heart of Darkness, Conrad, and that's the first Belgian horror, Congo horror. You know, was for rubber. I'm going to answer your question, but there's a painfully powerful bit of history here that people need to know. So Leopold got his hands on the Congo in 1885, personal property. He owned the whole thing as personal property, King Leopold of the Belgians. And the car, Benz invented the car, 1885, internal combustion engine. It had steel-clad wooden wheels, couldn't go very fast before those things fell apart. And then in 1888, this chap Dunlop invents a rubber tire. And now the whole car revolution is taking off because you can actually drive those things far and fast. And the Congo happened to be sitting on one of the largest rubber tree forests in the world. So Leopold deployed this mercenary army to enslave, terrorize, and torture the population to get rubber out of the forest, the loot, bring it up the chain, and turn it into tires. And he walked away with billions of dollars doing this. But that was the first car revolution that led to horror in the Congo. And Conrad was in the Congo in 1890. He saw this. That's what inspired Heart of Darkness. So now we come across the second car revolution coming to electric vehicles. And wouldn't you know it, that once again the Congo is sitting on more of this necessary, crucial mineral, cobalt, than the rest of the world combined. And it's that same thing happening all over again. Latest chapter. And it bearing witness to that and knowing what came before, right? That this isn't just one isolated thing. Oh, new problem, let's fix it. That it's been happening for generations to the people in that part of the world, in the heart of Africa. Having that in mind and bearing witness to that has been just devastating. And as I said, I've not really been talking about it. I've kind of feared having to talk about it because there are memories that I've kept really deep down, except when I wrote. So I structured my book a bit like Heart of Darkness. You know, you go upriver to find Kurtz, and Kurtz reveals a certain truth. There's one road in the mining provinces that goes up road, and I take the reader up that road to an event that I think reveals the truth. And it just gets darker and bleaker as you travel up road, and the things I saw and the things I've seen, man, they hurt. They hurt because I know it's like, what kind of economy can transform the degradation of innocent, impoverished children into shiny phones and cars? You know, and we are living lives that are so disconnected, yet intimately connected to that horror. And it's just been, look, if what I do can give voice to what's happening there, to the people living there who are otherwise crying into an abyss, then it's all worth it to me. And if some good comes of it, God willing, there will be some good that comes of this journey. It'll be worth it to me. But yeah, to answer your question, it's taken a toll.
I can't even imagine.